Welcome back to the Morning Blend. Whether you are planning your first holiday gathering or you're a seasoned host, a solid party plan is a must. DIY expert and party planner Brit Morin joins us with tips for an unforgettable seasonal gathering. Good morning to you, Brit.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being on the Morning Blend. I think it's important to point out that even people who've been doing this for a while and are great at planning parties and hosting a crowd, it's still good to have a plan.
That's right. You know, whether you're an amateur or a pro party planner, I think, everyone wants to make it easier, right? So I have 4 different ideas that only take minutes, so you can put your holiday party together in under an hour if you really have to. The first is to pick a color palette. This is really important because it makes everything feel cohesive. So the invitations, the table settings, whatever it might be, it makes your guests think that you might have spent a lot more time planning and plotting than you really did. Secondly, of course, you've got to have some great food on hand. I love finger foods, snack foods. It's really easy to talk while you're eating them. This one is so easy. It's, homemade Chex Mix. This is the variety that you might know as puppy chow or Muddy Buddies is what it's technically called these days. It takes 15 minutes. You can make it in the microwave. And if you don't, particularly like this flavor, there are over 100 different recipes you can make for homemade Chex Mix that we can find online, and they all are so easy, and take the same amount of time and effort. Next, of course, because we live in the era of social media, a photo booth is a new trend you're seeing at a lot of these holiday parties and events. Just take some gold tinsel, some wrapping paper, maybe a colorful blanket, hang it on the wall for your backdrop, and then you can use little, props like Santa hats for your guests to play around with as they take their photos and put them on Instagram or Facebook or whatever the new social network is. And then lastly, of course, you want to send your guests home with something nice. So I definitely recommend a party favor. This is a fun idea for the holidays. It's a travel kit. So just get a little bag. You can throw in some extra Chex Mix, a bottle of water, lip balm, Tylenol if your guests are going to be having some late night parties. Pack it all up and let them head out on their road trips for the holidays, and they will enjoy it all and remember your party, of course.
I think that's great. Really quick, what's the difference between the Muddy Buddies and the regular, like what we think of as puppy chow?
Yeah, it's really the same thing. It's just, they're called 2 different things. So I wanted to say both because people know them as both. But it's, it's a recipe that's been around since the 50s. So it's fun to see different generations as they grow up on this stuff continue to enjoy it as adults. And I do have to point out that, 7 out of the 8 Chex cereals are gluten-free. So if you're worried about that, you don't need to be, because you can definitely make this a gluten-free option for if you have dietary preferences or your guests do as well.
It's a great way to get kids involved too, because it's such a simple recipe that kids can help.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you can make them, chief taste tester, and they will tell you when it's ready to go. That's a really fun idea for kids. Yeah, it's microwavable, so really easy for them to create and make in just minutes.
And I love the colors you picked for that holiday platter there, because they're not necessarily the colors we would normally think of. So I think that's really fun. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you too. Thank you so much, Brit.